Okay, I think this is working. So I've been playing around with some rendering optimizations because it was running a bit slowly on my Mac Mini yesterday. So I didn't have anything optimized, I don't think. I had some really vestigial kind of dot product stuff to stop rendering stuff that was behind the camera, but I today have been rebuilding frustum calculating code and then doing the proper frustum cull. So stuff that's really not in the view exactly doesn't get drawn. And as well as building, I've switched over to OpenGL 4. And I had to change around some code a little. I had some older code for culling planes that would chop off stuff that was like underwater that couldn't be seen. So I got that working as well yesterday and kind of fixed it up a bit today. And tweaked the resolution a bit. So I'm gonna like put some stuff in here. And maybe something else. There we go. This is, I'm on like 100% music today because my brain was refusing to cooperate this morning. And build none. Okay. So I've got some kind of timers at the top there. I forgot to turn off VSync in the video driver, so it's a little unrealistic. But basically, you can see I can measure the time things are taking on the GPU and also on the CPU, which is pretty handy for seeing how effective each debugging technique is. The trick there is that you can't just watch those on your computer and tweak it until it goes smaller. You have to try it. I get completely different numbers on the Mac, for example, which has, I think, fill rate problems or just problems with large numbers of fragment shaders at any time. So any post-processing is super slow on the Mac, but not such a big deal here. And I can actually turn that off. I think it's called draw post. So you see the bottom number there is quite high. It's like 3 or 4 milliseconds on the GPU at the moment. If I turn all of that off, it's like nothing, 0.04. But yeah, I lose that kind of depth of field, and it switches to a different kind of anti-aliasing. So what I was going to show you was, if you look at one of those numbers for the trees one, for example, you can see that. Where's that? Second to last one. You should be able to see, as I look at different numbers of trees on the screen, that number should move around a bit. So when I got tons of trees on the screen, it gets a bit higher, so it's 0.83 milliseconds, and when I'm not looking at any trees at all, it should be pretty low. So 0. So it's really not drawing any trees now. It's smart enough to not even send them to the vertex shader, because I put frustum culling in, which basically figures out where the camera is, what can be seen in the shot, and then eliminate in the C code, just don't even try and draw stuff. Don't even batch it up for rendering if it's not going to be in shot. And I have a way of turning that off. Yeah, so if I set that to 0, it's basically going to freeze what it thinks the camera can see, so I should be able to move away. And yeah, it's not attempting to draw any trees that are outside that range. What I do is I represent each object as a sphere. Obviously it's not doing it with the terrain. I haven't got that working. I'm going to change the way I'm doing terrain next, so I'm not going to bother with that. Yeah, so everything's kind of a sphere, and I scale it to roughly a size slightly bigger than the mesh is going to be. And then if it's that entire sphere is not within the camera's shape, it's a frustum, which is like, it's not a cube shape, it's a kind of a pyramid shape with the top chopped off. So what a frustum is. Yeah, so I should be able to do that again. And look in a different way. And all that other stuff that I was seeing over here is now not bothering to be sent to rendering. Obviously I forgot this crate and this little guy. They're done somewhere else, I guess. So that's pretty much it. And the other thing I was playing around with was water rendering. So I changed the way I was rendering water. What I do is I'm actually rendering like 3 different views there and combining them together to get reflection and refraction. which I always spooners them together as reflection, which is kind of embarrassing, but okay. So basically what I can do is draw little panels to show how the water works on the screen. The bottom right red one there is a texture I build dynamically actually to show what the depth of the water is at any point, because I use that to do the colorations there. So that's the surface layer stuff. That's just drawn in a regular scene. The top right there is the underwater view. It's the same as the regular view, except I use a calculated clip plane to chop off anything that's really not going to be underwater. And that's actually drawn separately, and I just use that as a texture on the surface of the water. So there's not actually anything under there. It's composed in a separate scene and stuck on later with some wobble, some sine waves and stuff. The top left one right there, which you can sort of see, is the reflection view, which is, yeah, just a kind of a different camera angle. So it's almost as if we're kind of down here looking that way. And that's the same again. I just mixed that in as another texture. I had like a Fresnel to do a realistic mix between reflection and refraction. I really wanted to say reflection by accident there, and that it looked kind of confusing in a cartoony style. So I just was like, right, it's always going to be 50% reflecting and 50% the other texture, and I just mixed the results together there. I think it looks pretty cool. I'm still working on this like banded color style, but I kind of like where it's going. So that's the proof that I've been working on optimization, because people didn't believe me.